Mr Speaker, on the 13th of February 2025, in response to the supplementary questions in oral question number 9, I stated that evidence tells us that youth crime was at an all-time high. What I should have said is that in relation to serious and persistent youth offending, which I understood was the context of the questioning, is that the increase was at an all-time high. This is according to the Ministry of Justice latest Youth Justice Indicators report, which has data back to 2013-14.
Question number 9, the Honourable Willow Jean Prime.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Children. How many participants in the military-style academy program have reoffended since participating, and how many are currently in youth justice facilities?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Karen Chhour.
I acknowledge the interest in the military-style academy pilot, and I'm also aware of the impact of the intense focus on these 9 young people, their families and whānau. I have considered the fact that this is a very small group of young people and will be identifiable within their communities, and I do not believe it is in the public interest to provide constant updates on their activities. However, in considering the balance between these young people's privacy and the well-being and public interest, I can confirm that all 9 of the young people are still engaged in the pilot. They are in a range of placements, including some in a youth justice residence. I also remind the member that there is a significant difference between alleged reoffending and proven reoffending, and these matters could be subject to court proceedings.
Supplementary. How is it not in the public interest that 8 of the 10 pilot military-style academy participants have allegedly reoffended, and that 6 are apparently back in youth justice facilities?
Mr Speaker, I'm not sure where that member has got those numbers from, and I cannot either confirm or deny those numbers, because I am not going to constantly drag these young people down when they have come to this program voluntarily to make their lives better. Parliament is not here to destroy young people's lives, Mr Speaker. Parliament is here to support them and get behind them to succeed.
Supplementary. How is it not in the public interest to provide information when she is spending over $30 million of public money on military-style academies?
Mr Speaker, we tried to be as open and transparent as possible when it came to this pilot program, but then it became very apparent that the opposition used that opportunity to drag these young people through the mud with venom, trying to make them be unsuccessful. Instead of asking questions that were relevant to their successes, it was always about whether they were going to fail.
Point of order, the Honourable Karen Chhour.
Thank you, sir. The Speaker's rulings are really clear when it comes to the issue of public interest, and it's spelled out really clearly that it is a high bar to meet. It is not unreasonable for a member to ask a minister to justify their decision as to whether to use that provision not to answer a question. Given that it is a reasonable question, it shouldn't be used like you've applied previously with a straightforward and reasonable question. It shouldn't be used as an opportunity to make a political attack, as the answer was in that particular question.
Yes, that would be fair, but I'm listening also to the questions. So I've got to say I always get confused by the, I don't know what the correct grammatic term is, but by saying how is it not is, I think, a difficult way to put a construct on the rest of the question. In this case, how is it not in the interest of the public to get particular information or use particular information? The answer that was given by Karen Chhour was was the answer you'd expect from a minister. I don't think we're in any particularly difficult circumstance here.
I agree. The initial response was totally fine, but to then go on and use this to try and paint this into something that it is not, it was quite clearly a political point. I take your point about the grammatical structure. We're of the view that that makes sense, but nevertheless we can disagree on that. But the point remains that it is reasonable for a member to ask a minister to justify their decision to withhold information on the grounds of public interest, as it is a high bar. Explain that like she did at the start. The rest of that answer shouldn't have been allowed.
Yes, and one of the difficulties I've got at the moment is, despite my enhanced hearing capacity, I'm actually hearing a great deal more of the commentary that's going behind those answers, and the person asking the question was asking a lot more questions as the answer was being given. And I was actually looking to see what was being said there, so I apologise for missing that, but make the point that answers by ministers to questions from the opposition should not or are not an opportunity for political attack. Willow Jean Prime. Honourable Willow Jean Prime.
How can she say that it isn't in the public interest to provide information when we've had 5,342 submissions on the boot camp bill, and Save the Children have a petition demanding that you boot the bill?
The Honourable Karen Chhour.
Mr. Speaker, I refer to my primary answer, and especially around where there is a huge difference between alleged reoffending and proven reoffending, and these matters may be before the courts. We cannot be making these young people's identities to be available to the public. It is a small group of people that will be easily identifiable, and we don't make a habit of talking about youth who are before the courts.
Supplementary. How can the government push through a bill to enshrine the military style academy in legislation when it is not working?
Mr. Speaker, I actually would say it's too early to say whether the pilot has been a success or not. We are still in the middle of the pilot. That is why we are evaluating its progress, and we'll be releasing the first evaluation shortly. What I would say is evidence tells us that what we were doing was not working. Evidence tells us that youth crime was at an all-time high and something needed to happen. It would be easy to say no to these young people and say we're not going to put in the effort. But I am proud to be part of a government that says yes, you're worth the effort that we are putting into you.
Supplementary question, Maria Mino Kapakingi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister, in your own admission just now that you're not sure whether it's working or not, why would you then persist with such a bill?
I think I just answered that, Mr. Speaker. We can't afford to do nothing. The evidence tells us that youth crime was at an all-time high, and we needed to do something different. I was saddened when I heard that youth justice was being used as a holding pen before corrections. So we need to do something better.